All right, so that is IEBC right there where, of course, timelines are a big issue. And we do know that the IEBC has been under the spotlight for several reasons. One, of course, was where the Isaac Hassan-led team, which was literally hounded out of office because of what we'd call not having integrity or not being like Caesar's wife, you know, without being reproached. So maybe starting with that and the fact that they need to deliver a credible election, but there's been so much interference.
Just before we get to Prof, Prof says the media can really create a perception. During this IEBC issue with the Isaac Hassan team, the media went with the team that bungled the previous elections. I don't know what Prof would think of that word, first of all.
Prof.
Like they say, if you want to kill a dog, you first give it a bad name. And that's what Michelle is saying, that they wanted to kill a dog, and they'll give it a bad name. And you remember last week, we had this discussion, and I said there is no guarantee that this new IEBC will oversee the elections in August. There's no even guarantee that elections will be in August anyway. And I said this new IEBC must stamp its authority as an independent institution. What I'm hearing is IEBC being given ultimatums on their side, being told what to do on their side, saying this is our plan, and then somebody saying this cannot be your plan on their side. I don't think that that is very good in terms of creating confidence for the elections that are coming in August. If the IEBC does not stamp its authority, it is setting itself up for failure, and we can't repeat that enough.
How would it be expected to stamp its authority? What is it supposed to do? Because at the end of the day, is it the chairman to come out or the CEO to come out and say, look, we are independent? How would this be done?
They would have to find out a way of doing it. And probably for me, where I would start is to appreciate that the political players in the election cannot be the people giving instructions and giving ultimatums to the IEBC. So that's where I would start. That I either would not address myself to the players. If you are a referee, there are rules. You enforce the rules. The players may agree with you, may not agree with you. Here we have an IEBC that thinks that its role is to negotiate with the political class. Its role is to referee the political class.
Are you feeling the independence of the commission right now as a Kenyan?
So far, I have concerns, not about the ability of the IEBC to conduct the elections, but about the ability of the IEBC to stamp its independence and therefore its credibility.
And we cannot negate the fact that there needs to be a perceived authority that they have.
Absolutely.
Which is why the Isaac Hassan team was hounded out of office anyway because of perception.
Yes.
They were deemed to be. But let's move on to the other story which
just before we do, because Prof says that IEBC, without stamping its independence, is setting itself up for failure.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned that with the way things are going, that we might not even have an election on the 8th of August. But do you think that Kenyans as a whole are setting themselves up for failure because no one is entertaining this conversation of the possibility of not having an election? Constitutional experts say the Constitution says August 8th, and that must be followed.
The only reason why there are doubts about an election in August is that we do not get the sense of confidence that we need to get from the IEBC that they are in control of the process. If we had that confidence that these guys are in control, these guys are independent, these guys are going to deliver an election in August, then we wouldn't be having these questions. We were just talking a few minutes ago with Michael about some people who stopped the tendering process, and they said it was unprocedural, and now they are saying you are time barred even to do it. And in the middle, you have an IEBC that looks unsure of itself. Let them not forget that the political class hounded out the Kivuitu Commission, formed a blood-soaked government, and ruled this country for 5 years. There is nothing that stops them from doing it again and again. Like we said, these are people who are used to impunity. If the IEBC should go down, let it go down because of its independence, not because of its inability to stamp its independence.
All right, finally, before we go to the next story, there's also Edward Ouko, who is before the Senate, and questions rising up here. And My concern, and I'd like to hear what your take is, the two of you, is the fact that now it has become a Jubilee NASA or Jubilee Code affair, or the fact that he is from this particular community, whereas shouldn't it be he is either above board or not?
Well, a lot of political interest in this case, and so we've seen, because during the Senate hearing, we had CORD MPs join the hearing as friends of the committee. So I don't know why there's so much political interest in this, Prof. What are your thoughts?
There is a lot of political interest in it because accountability in this country has stopped being a judicial process. It has stopped being an institutional process. It has become a political process. And it has not become a political process by default. It has become a political process by design. The people who are in the political class do not want an independent judicial institutional process of holding them accountable because they know that they cannot survive a purely judicial independent process of holding them accountable. So what do? They politicize it. They make it political. A few days ago, we were talking about the NYS scam and the fact that there is an impasse in Parliament. Why is there even an impasse in Parliament? Is this where that is supposed to be prosecuted anyway? Are the people in Parliament the people who are prosecuting above board in relation to what they are investigating? You know, most of them have been mentioned. In one way or the other. So I agree with you. This Oko thing looks politicized. It looks politicized because the politicians want it that way.
All right. And